What if I told you that just one battle split the Confederacy in two, gave the Union complete control of America's greatest river, and helped determine the outcome of the entire Civil War? For 47 days, soldiers fought here, dug trenches, endured constant shelling, and survived on dwindling supplies. When it was all over, the Confederate city, or one Confederate city, had become the key to Union victory. This is the story of Vicksburg, right here at Vicksburg National Military Park on Echoes of Freedom. Stay tuned to learn more. You hear that? That's the Echoes of Freedom. What's up, historians? Today we're standing here on the site of Vicksburg National Military Park, one of the most important battlefields in American history. Often overshadowed by Gettysburg, Vicksburg was every bit as important as for the outcome of the Civil War. In fact, President Abraham Lincoln once famously said, "Vicksburg is the key. The war could never be brought to a close until that key is in our pocket." And he was right. To understand Vicksburg, you have to understand the Mississippi River. In fact, getting here from Louisiana across over the Mississippi is just right behind the camera. Matter of fact, I can smell the river from here. We're that close. In the 1860s, the Mississippi was America's superhighway. It moved soldiers, supplies, food, livestock, and trade. Whoever controlled the Mississippi River would control the heart of the continent. And perched atop towering bluffs overlooked a sharp bend in that river sat Vicksburg, the city. Confederate artillery positioned on these heights could control river traffic for miles. That's why Vicksburg became known as the Gibraltar of the Confederacy. It was one of the strongest defensive positions in the South. That's going to lead us to Grant's campaign here. After multiple failed attempts to capture this city, Union General Ulysses S. Grant launched one of the most brilliant campaigns of the Civil War. Instead of directly attacking the city, he marched his army south, crossing the Mississippi River and moving inland. Over a period of weeks, he won a series of battles that isolated Vicksburg from Confederate support and then turned towards the city. By May of 1863, Vicksburg was completely surrounded, and Grant began a siege of the entire city. For 47 days, Union forces tightened their grip around Vicksburg. Artillery shells rained down day and night. Residents dug caves into the hillsides to escape the bombardment. Women, children, and soldiers alike lived underground for protection. One resident later wrote, "The hills are honeycombed with caves." Imagine that. An entire city forced beneath the earth to survive. And as you can see, I'll turn the camera a little bit, but you can see it's just hilly terrain here, starting from, just look how far down the road is to the earthworks up here at the top of the hill. As we pan around, the cities right back there, the Mississippi River's on the other side of the tree line over there, but you can just see kind of the hill and the structure, the layout, the geography, and the terrain of this land. As the siege continued, soldiers dug extensive trench systems around the city. These trenches crept closer and closer to Confederate lines. In some places, Union and Confederate soldiers were separated by only a few yards. Sharpshooters watched every movement. Artillery constantly fired overhead. Artillery, much like this behind me, and let's just go ahead and turn the camera over to that side so you can just see the cannon in behind as we finish up this episode. The fighting around Vicksburg foreshadowed trench warfare that would later dominate World War I and later World War II. I'm just kind of going to zoom in here. At some point, we'll get the camera crew back together. But for now, we make it work as we can. And I'm going to walk over here a little closer to the cannons. One of the most fascinating parts of the siege happened well underground. Union soldiers tunneled beneath Confederate positions. On June 25th of 1863, they packed one tunnel with over 2,000 pounds of black powder and detonated it. Does this sound familiar? I hope so, because this exact same thing happened at Petersburg. Grant's going to use the same tactic at Petersburg that he used here in Petersburg in 1864, early 1865, that he uses here at Vicksburg. The explosion created a massive crater and launched men, earth, and debris into the air. Union troops then attempted to storm through the breach. The fighting that followed became some of the most intense combat of the entire siege. As weeks passed, conditions inside Vicksburg grew desperate. Food supplies ran low. Horses, mules, and any other available food source became valuable. Confederate soldiers were absolutely exhausted. Civilians were suffering, and finally, on July 4th, 1863, one day after the Battle of Gettysburg ends in Pennsylvania, Confederate General John C. Pemberton surrenders the city to General Grant. After 47 days, the siege was finally over. So why does this matter, and why did Vicksburg change the war? The fall of Vicksburg was devastating for the Confederacy. The Union now controlled the entire Mississippi River, and the Confederacy was effectively split in two. States west of the river became regularly cut off from the rest of the South. Coincidentally, Vicksburg surrendered just one day after the Union victory at Gettysburg that I just mentioned, making July of '63 one of the most important turning points in American history. Two major Union victories in both the Eastern and the Western theater. Two crushing Confederate defeats, one changing tide of war. So today, Vicksburg National Military Park preserves over 1,300 monuments, miles of battlefields, historic trenches, artillery positions, and the restored USS Cairo Museum that we're headed to right after we leave here, and that will be on next week's episode. So you're going to want to come back to learn a little more about Vicksburg and the USS Cairo. Every monument tells a story. Every ridge and ravine witnessed history. And unlike many battlefields, you can still clearly see how the terrain shaped the fighting. So, standing here today at Vicksburg, it's hard to imagine the noise, the artillery, the explosions, the fear, the hunger. Yet, all around us are reminders of what happens here. And every monument, every cannon, every trench, every piece of earthwork continues to scream the echoes of freedom throughout this entire battlefield. Vicksburg wasn't just a victory, it was a turning point. A campaign that demonstrated Grant's brilliance, reshaped the war, and helped determine the future of the United States. So, all right, historians, as always, Gettysburg may be called a turning point of the Civil War, but many historians would argue that Vicksburg was just as important and also a key to the turning point of the Civil War. Because when Vicksburg fell, the Confederacy lost its grip on the Mississippi, and the path to the Union victory became much more clearer. Before we go today, as always, if you would like to learn more about Vicksburg or about this adventure, or any adventure from Season 2, head over to our website, www.echoesoffreedom.us. There you can learn more through our interactive map. Click on that interactive map tab, and you can scroll down and track all the locations we've been to each season, learn a little more about it, see the episode, and fill yourself with history, as well as follow the journey for Echoes of Freedom each and every season. There's also a donate button there, so if you'd like to donate to fuel up our vehicles, to travel to places to cover history, or to help us with artifact and relic recovery as we work to preserve historic sites and tell the story of lesser-known sites, that will go a long way. Even as little as $5 goes a long way to helping us in our mission to preserve U.S. history and tell the story of the echoes of freedom throughout this great country. And lastly, what is the last thing? I forgot. No, I didn't. If you have a location you would like us to go to, click on that little tab in the website and suggest your location. We will be honored and happy to check it out and quite possibly shoot our next episode at your requested location. I'm Smith McNeill, historian. This is Echoes of Freedom. We will catch you all on the next adventure. Come back next week to see the USS Cairo as we wrap up our adventure here in Vicksburg.